Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. A couple of things led to today's video. First off, earlier in the week, I was out doing some maintenance on a couple of clients' tanks, and they had a few of those no-clog air stones I made quite some time ago now. And I thought possibly you guys might be interested in an update on that. So if you are, leave a comment below and let me know what you think about that, and I'll try putting together a video on it. The other thing is, I haven't done any machining on this channel in a very long time. So I thought what I'd do is try and improve upon those no-clog air stones. They work perfectly fine, but you remember, I was trying to make very fine bubbles, and I was using really tiny little drill bits for that, and never really managed to get anything that was small. So I thought I tried my hand at making an air diffuser. It's basically the same concept, two pieces stuck together, but these are going to be threaded so I can compress something in between it, something hopefully with smaller pores. I'm going to start off with polyester because I have it here. If you guys think there might be a better material, definitely leave a comment about that as well. And I'm going to try a few out. First off, I'm going to make this. This is just going to be like my prototype, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to see if I can improve upon it as time goes on. So this is the female end. I'm going to drill not all the way through, as you can see here. And then I'm going to thread the hole with the tap. I don't have the proper tap for this. I should have a flat bottom one. But if you start getting into machining, you realize rather quickly that there are an awful lot of different tools for different operations, and they get expensive, and I don't really need to have that much equipment around. So you see this one's pointed, and it's great for through holes, but the bottom, probably about 1/4 of an inch, is not going to be threaded properly. In this particular case, that only means that I need to make sure that the male end is 1/4 inch shorter than the bottom of the hole. That's it. It's an easy get around because this doesn't have to be a specific size, which in some cases with machining you do need to build things to a certain size. Like I said, this is not one of those cases. So I meant to show you the machining of this all the way down from the big diameter, but I forgot to turn the camera on. When I switch it over to do down the other side there, you'll get to see it then. So actually going to film that in regular time. The nice thing about working with Delrin, it is first off machinable, which is nice, but secondly it is very soft relative to metals, and it's very easy for a lathe like this to take it down. So I'm going to take this down to just shy of 1/4 inch, by about 2000, and then I'm going to thread it, and I'm going to thread it by hand, or at least that was my initial intention. And my reasoning was that there's two more operations that need to be done on this. I need to run a lengthwise hole and then a perpendicular hole, and both of those are going to, well, reduce the amount of material here. And I was concerned that if I put too much torque on it during the threading process, I could end up fatiguing the material, and then I wouldn't be able to clamp down really hard on the polyester that's going to go in this, at least initially anyway. So that was my plan, and as you're going to see here as I start off, it is really easy to thread, but as it progresses, it does push forward well, you're going to see here in a second. You see the Delrin there, the piece of plastic coming off. I mean, it's easy to pull it out initially, but as it gets closer and closer to the nub at the end, it gets harder and harder to do. So I had to put a pair of vice grips on this, and I was a little concerned because, again, I could end up deflecting the material. There you go. And that's what I was concerned about, was putting too much of that sort of stress on it, wiggling it back and forth. But I had left a lot of extra material, so I can end up, and I do end up, machining off that bit. So in the end, it turned out fine. As you can see, though, it is wobbling back and forth, but I'm going to machine that all off, and then there you go. Now, one other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, is I don't have the proper taps and dies for this, for doing this particular operation. So I need to do one more little bit to this, and you're going to see here in a second, I can't thread it all the way in because, well, the threads don't go all the way down. So what I'm going to do here is, for two reasons. First off, so I can thread it so it clamps down hard, and the other reason is it gives me a spot where I can drill the cross hole. I am going to take down that plastic so that it is less than the diameter of the hole. So now I'll be able to thread this on all the way. I know it doesn't really make much sense unless you do machining, but you'll see how it clamps on here in a second. And while I'm finishing up this step, I'd like to ask you guys a question. That is this the kind of stuff you'd like to see on the channel? I know I used to do a fair amount of it, but then I kind of got out of it because I was doing most of that on the other channel. But an air diffuser, it doesn't really fit into the theme of things that I make there, so I thought I'd put it here. And let me know in the comments below if this is something you'd like to see more of, because I have left an awful lot of it out lately. So there we go. This is pretty much done as far as the threading goes. You can see there's a little bit of a dog leg there. But again, the nice thing about Delrin is threading this on and then threading it off a couple of times will work that out. I was trying not to do too much of it. But again, this is just a prototype. I want to test out how it works at all before I get too finicky about its looks. And as you can see here, I've done this a couple of times now, and there you go. It's still a little crooked, but more than good enough to try and see if this is worth pursuing. So now the other thing I need to do now is flip this around and machine down the other end so I can hook on an airline, and then of course do the drill hole through. So there you go. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, as I said earlier, in real time, because this is one of the nice things about working with Delrin. It can be machined down very, very quickly, especially something like this is not critical. When you're putting on airline, it's quite flexible, so it has to be just within a reasonable ballpark. And all I'm going to do is plunge this in and then just move it out to the side, and there you go. Just moved off a 1/4 inch just like that. And as it gets down near where the final dimension, I'll get a little bit slower on this. Again, I don't want to waste having done all this by having it too thin. That is something I've done more than once, I tell you. You get to the last few operations and you take a little bit too much off, and you have to make the whole part all over again. But not in this particular case. I got it done properly, and like I said, it's very easy to work with. So I'll get this down, and then I'm going to not drill all the way through. I don't want to have too much chance for there to be leaks, or air leaks. I want to make sure all the pressure goes where I want it to. So I'm going to drill to make sure that there is enough room for the cross thread hole, and then that's about it. I don't want to go further down. And also, the other thing, of course, is every time I do one of these operations, I am weakening the material, and I do want to be able to clamp this down quite solidly. So not really sure if it would make much of a difference if I went all the way through, but like I said, I wanted to make sure that this one was functional. So I'm going to start the hole, and then I'm going to turn it all off and mark where I want it to go. It doesn't have to be precise, it just has to be within a specific tolerance, let's say. Like, there you go. And then I'm going to drill down to that, and then move over to the milling machine and put the cross thread hole. And that's pretty much it. That's all there is to this. It's not, I mean, it may seem complicated, but this is a really straightforward procedure. It's just turning down two ends, drilling a hole through, putting some threads on, and then putting a cross throw hole through it, and that's it. It is a very easy thing to put together, and mostly because I don't have to be concerned about specific dimensions. And then the simple matter of cutting a little square of, if you remember a little while ago, I bought some polyester, well, sort of like compressed pads. It was called a fiber pad, but all it is polyester that's been layered and then compressed. And it's actually really good for fine filters material, and I've been using it in a couple of filters, and I'm just going to squeeze a chunk of that into here. So there you saw the through hole and then the cross hole, and that's it. That's the diffuser all done. And that's just a little square of it. You can see there in the, oh, there you go, in my hand now. And it's going to take about half of this. I mean, again, this is just a guesstimation because having never made one of these before, I'm not sure what the proper amount is. Maybe less would work better, maybe more, I don't know. I'm going to fiddle around with this. But I wanted to get this done and show you guys and get it so that we can put some bubbles through this. It is kind of difficult to make a hole, but again, because this is threaded, once I have a little bit of a starter hole there, I can just screw it on, and then just fiddle with my fingers to get the fibers out of the actual threads, and then just clamp this thing down and trim it off. Alright, this is good enough. Let's take it over to an aquarium and see what kind of bubbles I get. And it is better than the no clog air stones I made, but I think it would require a different material to get even finer bubbles. Again, definitely leave comments below if you know of a material I could try out, because now that this is made, it's just a simple matter of unscrewing this and putting another piece of material in there and trying it that way. I'm happy with this as far as bubbles go, because I'm not really a big fan of micro bubbles, but anyway, definitely let me know in the comments below what you think. And thanks for putting up my rambling, and again, of course, let me know if this is the kind of video that you'd be interested in. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.